When we think of Russia, the dominant figure that comes to mind is usually President Vladimir Putin, which evokes power and the image of a country run by powerful men, where women are in the minority. And you're not wrong. Power is concentrated mainly in the hands of the male audience. But what you may not realize is that this image of powerful and strong Russian men may be somewhat distorted from the actual reality, and that in reality, women are in the majority in this country. Sounds surprising, doesn't it? In this video, we are going to introduce you to a different reality, dismantle some ideas, and present you with data that will certainly make you rethink your perspectives on Russia. Are you curious? Join us to get to know this reality. Russia is the largest country in the world in terms of land area. It is located between Europe and Asia and spans a total of 11 time zones. Health and education are a priority, and essential services are widely accessible to all without exception. With a comprehensive transport network, ranging from roads and railroads to modern gas pipelines, Russia is a vital logistics hub between Asia and Europe. Its solid infrastructure plays a crucial role in the local economy. Despite being a democracy, Russia faces criticism for controversial measures, corruption, and censorship. Internationally, human rights concerns persist, but those who think it is all brutality and militarism are wrong. One of the country's curiosities is its very special culture, with an emphasis on valuing different forms of artistic expression, such as literature and music. In the country of the Tsars, there is another striking fact: the gender disparity. Did you know that there are more women than men in Russia? The history of this imbalance goes back more than 100 years, with deep-rooted causes, such as wars and contemporary events like World War II, for example, which ended with the loss of more than 25 million Russian soldiers in combat. This gap continues to this day. In 2018, Russian Rosstat census data revealed that 54% of the Russian population was made up of women, while men accounted for 46%. But you'd be completely wrong if you think this disparity is solely due to the wars and conflicts the country has faced and continues to face. There are several factors that have nothing to do with the military. For every girl born in Russia, about 1.06 boys come into the world, in line with the world average of 1 boy for every girl. However, after the age of 25, the proportion of men drops at a strange rate to less than 1 man for every woman, a phenomenon not seen in other parts of the world. And now you're probably wondering, why is this? Today, the life expectancy of Russian men is greatly affected by addictions such as alcoholism and smoking. Globally, smoking is responsible for 1 in 10 deaths, half of which are concentrated in just 4 countries, and Russia is one of them. Today, it is the 5th country in the world with the highest number of smokers, 41% of its population. It is worth noting that this rate is almost 3 times higher among men, at 60%, while among women, it is only 23%. Another worrying fact is alcohol consumption. Everyone knows that Russia is known worldwide for its love of vodka, right? But what you may not know is that according to a recent study published in the specialized journal The Lancet, 25% of Russian men lose their lives before the age of 55, with alcohol, especially vodka, being the main factor. Today, each Russian adult consumes an average of 13 liters of pure alcohol per year, of which 8 liters are distilled spirits, mainly vodka. But believe me, this figure has decreased over time. According to a 2012 report, about 500,000 deaths per year in Russia were related to alcohol consumption, and at that time, Russians drank an average of about 32 liters of alcohol per year. In Spain, the comparable figure is 12.7 liters per adult, of which 60% is beer and 40% spirits. And speaking of beer, did you know that in Russia it was not considered alcohol? People of any age could buy and drink beer, as it was classified as food and considered a kind of soft drink. It wasn't until 2011, when a law by then President Dmitry Medvedev came into effect, that all beer was officially recognized as alcoholic. To give you an idea of how much the population, especially men, enjoy a drink, In 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev, then president of the country, launched a campaign against alcoholism, as he thought that by getting the population to get less drunk, he would increase production, pulling the country out of the economic crisis. However, that was not exactly what happened. These anti-alcohol measures had unexpected and, in some cases, negative consequences. The rise in alcohol prices caused a collapse of the domestic market, causing unemployment and product shortages. As a result, people looked for illegal alternatives, such as making drinks at home and consuming substances not intended for human consumption. Anything could be substituted for vodka, from perfumes to insecticides. A survey conducted by the Pew Research Center in 2013 revealed a clear gender gap in attitudes toward alcohol consumption. Surprisingly, 52% of women considered alcohol consumption morally unacceptable, in contrast to 36% of men. Irresponsible attitudes toward alcohol also affect men. Car accidents, drowning deaths, and other events contribute to these early statistics. Want another example? Have you ever heard of the strange game of Russian roulette? The one famous for having a potentially deadly risk, in which a player inserts a single bullet into a gun, spins the cylinder, places the barrel against the head or body of the opponent or himself, and pulls the trigger. Well, Russian roulette was the entertainment of the drunken aristocrats of the Russian Empire, who used to be nobles in military service, distinguished by their bravery on the verge of insanity and their reckless actions such as drunkenness, gambling, frequenting brothels, and lovers of vulgar jokes. Only someone very daring or drunk would come up with something like that, right? But although it seems that this macabre practice originated in Russia, it is in the United States where it has claimed more victims. One of the most famous cases occurred in 1954, when the musician Johnny Ace died in the middle of Christmas Eve during the intermission of a concert. A curious fact about this game is that in the Russian city of Perm, for example, the locals have created non-lethal electronic weapons to play a game similar to the classic Russian roulette. Well done. Another fact that contributes to the gender gap is the high suicide rate. The country has the highest rates among men, with 38 cases per 100,000 population in 2019 and 2020, according to World Health Organization estimates. These alarming rates among men are often associated with emotional problems and social pressures. Easy access to dangerous media exacerbates this sad reality. Many men face emotional problems such as deep sadness and anxiety, and unfortunately, some avoid seeking help for fear of being judged. Life pressures, such as job loss or economic hardship, have a significant impact, leaving many men feeling hopeless. Following a patriarchal and macho model, many seek to be seen as strong, avoiding showing weaknesses and sometimes not seeking support when they need it. In addition, excessive alcohol consumption, as discussed above, is another major contributor to this data, as alcohol can automatically worsen feelings of hopelessness. What is most intriguing about all this is that, even on a smaller scale, many do not find acceptance among Russian women. In the past, the shortage of men in Russia fueled the perception, among both women and men, that women are very lucky to find a mate. Unfortunately, this mentality has trapped many women in abusive relationships, driven by the fear of remaining single. Domestic violence, often associated with alcohol consumption, affects as many as 1 in 3 women, according to the National Center for Violence Prevention in Moscow. Unfortunately, domestic violence was, or still is, accepted by both the government and society as a whole. A clear example reflecting this was a 2013 Russian survey of 10,000 women, the most unfortunate fact of which is that more than a third, or 37%, admitted to accepting the husband's right to use physical force against his wife. In other words, there is a tradition that men are like that, and that is what is expected of them. Today, the picture remains much the same in terms of gender equality, in terms of equal pay and representation in managerial positions. Despite the fact that many women in Russia are highly educated and active in the workforce, the gender pay gap remains a major problem. In addition, the problems of domestic violence and sexual harassment remain social challenges in a patriarchal and sexist society. But if there is one thing that is changing, it is the way women view these behaviors, according to an article in the Daily Beast. Many women have given up hope of finding suitable partners among Russian men. They face a long list of complaints, from harmful habits such as smoking and heavy drinking, to traditional expectations about gender roles and, of course, violent behaviors. The dating scene has become so daunting that some women consciously choose to remain single. In Moscow, for example, more than 3 million women between the ages of 25 and 50 are single, 3 times as many as single men in the same age group. Many of these Russian women express a lack of interest in marrying men from their own country, citing complaints about inappropriate behavior, outdated expectations, and challenges in the professional world. Many Russian women are redefining their ideas of what they consider happiness and love. Some are choosing relationships with non-Russians, while others are opting for a single life rather than accepting traditional patterns that do not satisfy them, not least because all these problems are affecting Russia's birth rate. At a press conference in 2020, President Vladimir Putin said that Russia's future and historical perspective depend on how many of us there are. In addition, recent events such as the war with Ukraine and the COVID-19 pandemic have further aggravated Russia's demographic crisis. The war has significantly reduced the number of men of reproductive age, and this factor, combined with the pandemic, has resulted in a demographic nightmare that poses another major challenge for Vladimir Putin as Russia faces an increasingly complex and worrisome demographic reality. Did you know this other side of the Russian reality? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Thanks to all of you who have joined us, and see you next time.